Okay, so now what I'll be doing, I just set up the basic types for the event props, like how it used to look. User ID. Initially, I'm keeping it as undefined. Actually, I can remove this also, not a problem. Yeah. So basically, all of this capturing all of these data points, and then when we have this use effect, we get the result expected to be in the event props, and then set the events. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. So let me quickly do this yarn dev, and every time it happens, we will just log it. Okay, so we will do a yarn dev. Okay, so now let's quickly write our WS client and set WS client and react dot use state. Okay, and here we will be handling these events. So initially the type of this would be WS WebSocket, and once we make the connection, so we will just have a set WS client here, and we will pass in socket. So now socket is ready. Okay. Okay, and now let's create a method const send on click button data. Okay, and what this essentially would do is WS client dot send maybe, and here we will do JSON dot stringify, and here what we will do is we will send event ID, which is click button, and then add, which is new date dot get time. Of course, we can rewrite this from the backend itself, and from here what we can do is we can have an on click handler to track this. Okay, so this is done, and I think we can just close the app for now. Now let's move to the backend. So we need to add a method. So ws.onMessage, and then we will get the data. And here what I need to do is const result equal to JSON.parse data. Okay, and even before that we need to, let's quickly check if data of, not data but user records of user ID, if it exists, then what we would want to do is user records of user ID equal to, and I think we can just go to events and dot push result. Okay, so ideally this is how we should handle this one. Yeah, so let's see. So we have listening on and let's also have a log. So dot log event equal to result. Okay, and let's quickly try to, let's click on track event. So yeah, I mean events are now getting tracked, and if I close this, then it should accordingly dump the data. So connection successfully written. All right, so now let's try to make this function a generic one. So let me remove this guy from here, and let's have a generic payload. So let's have a payload which would be of type unknown, and let's keep that guy here. So this is the first improvisation, and now here we will have this send data and the same payload. Okay, so this is the second, and why is it complaining? Maybe, or yeah, okay, and we can use the same thing here as well, but there is a very important catch that I wanted to tell you guys. So let me paste this. Yep, and instead of this, let's name it as view image or viewed image, whatever you want. Viewed image. Okay, and we can have also file name here. So file name is like loading.gif. Okay, now this is how you would be ideally sending it. So let's quickly see what happens. So let's go to the browser and just add localhost 3000/analytics, and let's have the other server parallel. Okay, so here we go. Now you see what happens. So we open this image, but there is no effect. We are not getting any, I mean, like we should be getting logs. Let me show you. Oh, here if you see, we have console log for each event. Like if I click on track button, let me just do it like this, or track button, you will see that it is getting logged, but image is not responding. Okay, and if you see that, like even if I do, let's say, what is it? Like you might be confused that maybe this callback itself is not running. So let's quickly do one more check here. So we will have an alert image in viewport. Okay, and now let's see what happens. Okay, so let's quickly refresh this page and let this happen. Okay, so now it's happening. So let's see. Now if I go, you can see that image in viewport shows up, but still there's no trigger. Again, image in viewport shows up and all that. Okay, so but again there is no trigger. But for this guy, it always triggers. So the reason for that is, and this is something related to React 18 and newer versions. So this is a very important thing that you should be aware of. Otherwise, you would be confused why it is not happening. And the reason for that is, see, this is a standalone component, unlike button, which is a part of this whole component, right? This image track component is itself another component, right? So what happens is, when we create WS client, initially we kept it as empty or undefined, okay? So when this whole thing rendered, basically it only gets defined in this use effect. After rendering happens, component mounts, then we do this all, right? So when this whole thing gets re-rendered, then this particular component, image track component, it takes the reference of initial WS client and keeps a copy in itself, and it doesn't, come back here, all right? So that is why for this guy, WS client is undefined for all the cases, and we can just, add a simple log and check that this WS client, it will show you that it is undefined, okay? So how do we prevent this? Like there can be a lot of methods, but the most simplest method would be just put this in just put this in this thing. So ws client equal to undefined, actually not equal to undefined, and then only load this image, and that's all you needed to do. Now it would be behaving as expected. So let me go back, let me refresh the page, and let me clear the JSON, I mean user events, the older ones, and put an empty array. And now this is done. Close this, come back here, track event is happening. And now you can see that it's triggering up. Okay. So this is how you can, set up your analytics. You can have multiple parameters to a lot of other things as well. And that's what, that's what this particular content was about. And in next final video, we will see how we can capture the IP addresses and, send it to the backend. So that's all for this video. Thank you very much and have a nice day.